Welcome to How to Lead Great Small Groups. This is a great discussion and it's vital in the life of our church and any church. This could be your small group. This could be a team that you're on. It could be anything, but groups matter and groups make a difference. I want to tell you a quick story of what we're going to talk about in this session. This session is geared towards new group leaders. It's also for any group leader who kind of just needs to be refreshed on why you do what you do. I want to tell you a story of a movie that you may have seen called The Titanic. You know, there's a scene in the movie that grips me every time I watch it. It's right after the ship has gone down. And what you see from a distant camera angle looks like a debris field. All kinds of stuff is bobbling up and down in the water. And as the camera closes in, you realize that what's bobbing up and down is not stuff, it's people. Lots of them, hundreds of them. And you begin to hear them. They're screaming. They're calling out for help. It's desperation. And then the scene shifts again to a group of lifeboats in the distance. And the passengers who were fortunate enough to get on the limited lifeboats, you can hear the screams as the others call for help. But the lifeboats are not rowing back. They're going away. And no one seems to care except for one passenger. Molly Brown, played by Kathy Bates in the movie, she says, "We have to go back." Except here's the thing. That night, the temperature in the water was about 28 degrees. You could not live that long in the water unless you were Leo DiCaprio. He could maybe do it for indefinite amount of time. But everyone else could not survive in that water. And that night, 20 lifeboats were launched. 19 rowed away and only one came back, lifeboat 14. It came back to help. The reason we know the name of Fifth Officer Harold Lowe is that he was the tiller of the one boat that returned. And as they came back, only 4 survivors were pulled alive from the water. 4. Everyone else died. Here's the big deal. When you're in a small group, you're in a lifeboat. And if you're not in a lifeboat, you're not going to make it very long. You see, when you're at church on the weekend, when you're out and about and you're in the community, what you have to realize that even at church, 2 out of 3 people you see on a weekend, they're not in a lifeboat. Only 1 out of 3 people are connected. In some churches, maybe 1 out of 2, 50%, but over half the people are not connected, which means they're not in a lifeboat. And it brings this story so true that when you're not in a lifeboat, you're not going to make it very long. Here's what happens when you're not in a lifeboat. When you're not in another group of people, you're one hard family situation. You're one time away with the kids going a wayward way. You're one time away from a lost loved one, from losing a job. You're one time away from any of these hard situations, from giving up on church, and even worse, giving up on God. When you're not connected, it is that serious. So as a leader, what you have to know is that you're at the helm of a lifeboat. You're at the helm of asking people to jump in and literally, they don't even know that you're saving their life, but you're getting them into an environment that can provide them care when they need it most and might not even know it. That is how important leading a group is. And we have to discover, am I going to be okay with who I have in my boat, or am I always coming back looking for people who aren't connected to a lifeboat? That is the goal that we have. Everything we must focus on has to be connecting the unconnected and guiding them towards a life that's on mission for Jesus, leading everyone to experience a full life in Christ. So as you walk through church, I just want you to know that there are people that are literally not in a group and they're literally bobbing up and down in the water. God did not make us to be alone. And as a church, the reason we're doing this class is we are aimed at being a lifeboat making factory, at creating lifeboats so that people can literally be saved. Now, as a lifeboat leader, that could be very intimidating for you or for me. You know what? Leadership says, you know what? I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can make that commitment to drive this lifeboat around and try to rescue people. I don't remember if I don't know if I can do this. And I remember thinking back the first time I led a group, wondering, can I do this? Wondering, is anybody going to even show up after all these snacks I got ready? I got all these questions. What if I ask questions and nobody answers? Or what do I do if somebody asks a question and I don't have the answer? What do I do? Maybe you feel like you don't have what it takes to be a group leader. Or maybe you feel like you do and you need to hear this. Philippians 2:13 says it's for God who is at work in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his purpose. So the call, that urge to lead, to serve, to possibly lead a group, that's God working in you. That's not flesh and blood. That's not your idea. That's God saying, you know what? I'm at work in you, and I want to help you have the will, and I want to help you act and do what I've called you to do, and that's connect people. So what I want to do today is I want to walk you through a few myths of what a life group leader is and is not. This is going to be fun, all right, y'all? Myth number one is that if you want to be an effective life group leader, you have to know all the right people. You might be thinking, I don't know anybody, or I know a few people and they're already in a group. You might be thinking, you know what? How can I do this? The myth is that you have to be the person who's in the know, that has the best network, that knows everyone. That is a myth. Let's just go ahead and X that one out right now. You don't have to be in the know. The truth is, you just have to be willing to reach out and meet some new people. The same way you tell someone about a great restaurant that you just ate at or a movie that you loved, that's what you do when you tell people about getting connected and being in a life group. You just need to be willing to share a great review about what you're already experiencing. You don't have to be in the know. You don't already have to know 100 people. You've just got to be willing to talk to some people at church, to get to know some people, to come to some different events at church. And I guarantee you, like in the Titanic, you're going to find that over half the people you interact with don't have a connection, and you can invite them to your group. So you don't have to know everyone. That's myth number one. Myth number two is that you need to be a biblical scholar if you want to be a great life group leader. You don't have to know all the answers in the Bible to be a life group leader. I used to struggle with this too. I thought I needed to know everything, until I figured out that I never will know everything. Then I was able to rest in the fact that, you know what? I need to be a learner, and I need to be coachable. You know what? It's actually the people who think they know everything that kind of scare me. The people who have the degree in Bible or the seminary degree, they're like, I'm ready to lead a life group. You know what? They're probably going to get in there and make that into their pulpit and teach. And this isn't the goal of that. The goal is for us to not be a travel agent, which points people in a direction they should go that maybe they've never gone. The goal is to be a tour guide, which is somebody who walks with people through an experience. So you just need to be coachable. You need to be a learner. This is not a glorified question and answer session where you step into a group and everybody just fires questions at you like they're the fiery darts from the enemy. That's not what this is. We're walking through life together. So you don't have to have a degree in seminary to lead a group. Myth number three is that you have to spend hours in preparation. You know, the fact that maybe we'll ask you to prepare an hour a week for the lesson, that's all you really need. That you might miss dinner one time so that you can do that. You don't have to go up to the mountain for 6 hours before your group meets to prepare your lesson. You don't have to memorize everything in there. You just have to be ready for the discussion. You need to work through the content on your own a little bit, be ready for the discussion, know how you're going to ask questions, and we'll talk more about that in one of the other classes. But you just need to be available to connect others. And most of your time really shouldn't even be going up to the mountain to connect with God. You should do that, and it should come out of an overflow of that. But really, your time should be just connecting and loving on people. Myth number 4. The final myth is that you have to be a gifted communicator or public speaker, that you need to be able to wax poetically and impress everyone in your group with how well-versed you are. Actually, those are not the people, again, that I'm looking for or that anyone's looking for. We don't need somebody who's going to come in and teach everyone. We need, and here's the truth is, for you to facilitate a discussion. You know, back in the day, the Cowboys had this coach. It seems like forever ago that he was the coach here. His name was Bill Parcells. And I loved what Bill Parcells said when they were looking for a quarterback. He said he didn't want the next superstar. He didn't need the famous glitz and glam. He said, I just need somebody to drive the bus. I just need somebody who can move this thing forward. And you know what? There's no superstars needed here. We just need to be able to drive the bus. Check this out. Matthew 22, The Pharisees were trying to trip Jesus up. And they said, "What's the greatest commandment of all?" And he didn't give them a 300-page book to read. He didn't ask them to attend the next conference. He didn't even ask them to go to seminary to find out. In a simplicity that could have only come from Jesus, he said, "Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love others as yourself." Love God, love others as yourself, which implies that you have some self-care where you love and lead yourself. So love others, love God, and take care of yourself. And that's what a small group leader is. You know what? At OCC, we live that out by leading others to experience an environment where they're fully known and where they're fully loved and where they and we can experience life together. So I want to invite you to look at life through and look at groups through a lifeboat number 14 that you're going around. You don't have to be perfect, but you're just driving the boat, connecting and meeting and leading people to each other and to Jesus. So new leaders, I want to dispel the myths, and I want you to know, can you love God? Can you love others? And can you take care of yourself? If you can do that, you have the best foundation to start leading a group. We can do this. Let's make a difference for Jesus and help people get connected.